you or I create energy, right? I create energy by, like I said, by going to lifting in the morning, by going and doing you go do burpees, you go do 100 burpees, like you're creating energy. You're going to be tired, you're going to be sweating, but you just created energy. So that stuff is totally true. I'm glad there's neuroscience to back it up.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about devoting some of my lab to this. One of the best examples, another familiar territory for you, is cold water. Nowadays there's a lot about ice baths and cold baths and showers and all that. And I always like to just say, listen, it's all just a reliable source of inducing adrenaline release. And you get out of a cold shower, you have more energy, and that energy couldn't have been caloric energy. It's adrenaline. And it's fair to say I'm obsessed by the ideas of identity, which is a little bit how we started off, and I want to get back to it, and energy. I feel like identity and energy can account for 75% of what it is to, live a good life, if you can master those, because then it all seems to fall into bins. It's like, of course you need sleep. Why? Well, to restore your neural energy, right? At some point, you just fade out of neural energy if you don't sleep. So sleep then falls into a particular bin with a particular purpose. And then exercise becomes not a way to burn energy, but as you said, to create energy. And we actually are starting to understand why this is. If you'll indulge me for a second on some neuroscience, we didn't talk about this last time. We have neural circuits that control deliberate action. We have neural circuits that control deliberate actions that we forget that we're doing, like walking. And then we have neural circuits which are called central pattern generators. And these are the neural circuits that love to just work on their own and in the background, just kind of hum in the background and take care of all the stuff like heartbeat, breathing, and movement that is repetitive. Like if you're just marching and you don't have to adjust your cadence much, or maybe you're hiking even and step in this rock, that rock. Once those central pattern generators get going, it's very automatic. And we know that once those central pattern generators get going, there's the release of those catecholamines, those 3 or 4 molecules that then feed all the other neural systems. They're called neuromodulators for a reason, because they set the gain higher. So then you go out for a run or a jog or a hike or something, or you pedal or you row, and then your whole system is at a higher RPM. So when you say create energy, neuroscientists are starting to understand what that is. Repetitive movement that allows you to forget the motor commands that are required to generate that movement. You might think about your row stroke or something like that, but you can do it without thinking much. You come off of that and you now are set at a higher RPM to do more deliberate stuff. And none of this, again, involved like eating enough carbohydrates or making sure you had enough ketones or enough protein. It's like, you got plenty of that stuff provided you nourish at some point every 24 hours or so. So I think we know a little bit about the science behind Jocko Willink's schedule now. But I will ask this, are there certain forms of exercise like weightlifting versus cardio that you find give you an especially big boost in what we're calling energy? And here, this could be cognitive energy, it could be physical energy, but a readiness for the next thing.
Yeah, first I got to back you up on this. I love backing up your science. So do you ever ruck march, like put on a heavy weight and ruck?
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, Peter Attia got me into this. He got me into doing a long Sunday, instead of a long Sunday run, throwing on a lightweight vest or a ruck and going out for like 3 hours. And the first 20 minutes, I find I always want to go faster and get it over with. But then I've learned that the real pain in it sets in around an hour, and then the beauty sets in around 90 minutes, where you're like, I could do this all day, all night, and I never want to stop.
See, that's when you were describing how these chemicals get released, and once you're in that automatic mode, because in the SEAL teams, you're doing maritime operations for a month, and then you're going to do some kill house shooting, and so you're not carrying a bunch of weight, and then you go out to the desert, and now you're putting on 80 pounds, and you're going on like day one, and you get out there, you're going on an 80-pound ruck march, and the first freaking 17 minutes, the first 23 minutes just suck. They just suck. And what was beautiful was, by the time I was, 23, 24 years old, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna suck for 17 minutes, and then I'm gonna be a robot, and it doesn't matter anymore, I can just keep going forever. So it sounds like what you're saying is what I experienced basically my whole adult life. There's gonna be a little break-in period mentally where you think this totally sucks, and then you just can keep going for a really, really long time, and it's not that big of a deal. To your question of, is there any form of exercise that gives me that energy boost? I would have to say like the high intensity sort of anaerobic blast, whether it's on the bike or on the rower or, swinging a kettlebell hard. something like that, that last 10, 15 minutes, that's a really good way to, peak my mentality for the day.
Do you do the cold water thing? I mean, you certainly did a lot of it in buds. I mean, do you force yourself into cold water?
I have a cold bath in my house, and I get in every day. Yep.
How long are you spending in there?
Usually around 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Before you train or after you train?
No, after. So this is something I haven't played with yet, and for me, I'm like such a. I don't like to make a bunch of effort for something. So for me, going downstairs, getting in the ice tub, and I guess you only need to do it before you work out. You only go a minute, right?
Do a minute to 3. Joe and I have been texting back and forth about this. There's a lab at Stanford, Craig Heller's lab, that works on cold and performance. And the athletes at Stanford, mainly the cross-country team and the football players, are doing cold before their training because of the huge long-lasting increase in dopamine and adrenaline that's caused by that. They're finding it increases performance mainly by waking people up and getting them focused. It creates energy, basically. And students, everyone thinks of like, oh, athletes are all super motivated. This is no pick against Stanford athletes in particular. A lot of athletes are excellent at what they do because they're very lazy when they're not training. This is true. Not all athletes, but a lot of athletes are. And so they're really good at resting and recovering so they can train more. But a lot of athletes have a hard time getting into gear to train every day. And the cold is a great stimulus, right? It's like a 4 shot of espresso kind of stimulus without all the jitters.